Welcome to Ancient Stoic Secrets. Have you ever felt like something was off? Even when everything seemed perfect on the surface. You texted first. You listened. You stayed the night, but then she pulled away, and you're left wondering, what did I miss? Here's what no one tells you. Every woman carries a silent test. She doesn't grade your job, your words, or your charm. She's tuned into what happens in the quiet moments, when no one's watching, when there's no script. That's when she sees the man beneath the mask. Most men fail that moment because they chase, perform, try too hard. But a few move differently. They're calm, centered, intentional. And that's the difference between being remembered and being felt. Today, we dive into what makes a man unforgettable. Not because he's loud, but because he's present. Let's begin. Part 1. Presence over performance. You can memorize lines, learn moves, fake confidence, but presence? You can't cheat that. Most men treat intimacy like a game to be won. She moans, he calls it success. She goes silent, he calls it failure. But that's not love. That's insecurity in costume. Real presence is when a man gives without needing a reaction. He doesn't touch to be validated. He touches to connect. She can feel it instantly. When your attention is on her experience, not your ego, she softens, not because of what you do, but because of how you are. You don't have to perform. You have to be. Still, tuned in, genuine. That's not something she forgets. It's something her nervous system craves. Part 2. Intimacy begins where ego ends. Most men bring their ego into the room before they even touch her, trying to impress, trying to prove something, trying to be the man. But she doesn't want a show, she wants truth. When you release the need to perform, something incredible happens. You stop chasing reactions, you start creating connection. Real intimacy is not about pressure, it's about permission. And the man who leads with grounded energy creates a space where she can exhale. That space is rare. That space is safety. And when she feels safe, she doesn't just respond. She unfolds, slowly, freely, like sunrise through fog. Don't reach to be remembered. Be so still, so sincere, that her body remembers you before her mind does. Part 3. Reading her nervous system. Her body speaks before her lips ever do. You just have to learn to listen. The way her breath stutters, the slight tension in her shoulders, the pause before her hands move. That's her language, not words, but signals. Most men miss it because they're focused on outcome. They're too loud to hear the quiet. But the man who reads her rhythm, matches her breath, waits when her body asks for space, that man doesn't need to be told he's safe. She feels it. Neuroscience confirms this. When a man attunes to her rhythm, her limbic brain releases fear, and her body begins to open. She's not submitting, she's choosing, because trust, once earned in silence, becomes unforgettable. Part 4. The power of unspoken stillness. Stillness isn't weakness. In fact, in today's hyperactive world, stillness is power. Anyone can rush, few can wait. She doesn't remember the clever lines. She remembers the breath you didn't force, the space you didn't fill. Stillness tells her, I'm not here to impress. I'm here to feel. And that is rare. Think about it. When was the last time someone gave you their entire attention without needing anything in return? That's what she's searching for. Not someone who performs, but someone who anchors. Your stillness becomes her invitation to slow down, to drop the armor, to just be. And that is where the real magic lives. Part 5. Emotional leadership. Without control. Leadership isn't loud. It isn't barking orders or taking over. It's knowing where you're going and inviting her to walk beside you. She doesn't want to be ruled. She wants to feel safe surrendering. Big difference. The Stoic man doesn't dominate. He directs, with clarity, not control. He leads the moment not by force, but by creating a space where her emotions don't have to defend themselves. That kind of leadership isn't taught, it's practiced. Every time you stay calm when she gets emotional. Every time you listen before you fix. Every time you choose intention over impulse. She may not say it, but she feels it. And that's when respect takes root, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Part 6. Trust is earned in silence. You can say all the right words, buy the gifts, post the pictures, but trust isn't built in gestures. It's built in moments, in silence, in stillness, in the space where her voice trembles, and you don't flinch. You hold space, not just her hand. You don't rush to fix, you breathe through it with her. Most men miss this. They panic when emotion rises. But the Stoic man stands firm, not because he's numb, but because he's anchored. That's the kind of man she tells no one about, but thinks of when she lies awake. Because safety isn't loud, it's felt. And when you become her calm in the storm, you become unforgettable. Part 7. The warrior who doesn't chase. Here's the irony. The more you chase her approval, the more invisible you become. Women don't crave performers, they crave presence. And presence never chases, it waits. Not out of laziness, out of knowing. The Stoic man isn't afraid of the pause. He trusts his energy speaks louder than effort. He doesn't rush to prove worth. He lets worth arrive. You know you've become that man. When silence doesn't scare you, when rejection doesn't rattle you, when attention no longer fuels you. She feels that difference, in your breath, in your hands, in your refusal to chase. And that's when she leans in, not because you pursued her, but because you made her feel safe, standing still. Part 8. Her body remembers. Stillness. You may forget the moment, but her body doesn't. She remembers how your touch made her relax, how your patience slowed her breath. She won't recall your lines. She'll remember your stillness. Days later, she'll feel it again. Like a familiar song playing faintly in another room. That's what presence does. It lingers. It's not loud, it's felt. And no matter how much noise the world throws at her, she remembers the man who didn't add to it, but softened it. The one who didn't fill every silence, but honored it. In a world full of volume, stillness is seductive. It wraps around her nervous system like calm water, and she comes back to it again and again. Part 9. Depth always wins. Speed is everywhere. Instant swipes, instant dopamine, instant validation. But depth? Depth takes courage, and it always wins. The Stoic man knows this. He doesn't rush to the next thrill. He savors. He studies. He notices the micro shifts, the breath changes, the silence between words. And in doing so, he offers something rare, presence that doesn't expire. Science even backs this. When a man slows down, both bodies relax. Blood pressure drops, cortisol fades, oxytocin rises. And suddenly, one simple touch feels like poetry. That's the moment she realizes, this is different. Not because you impressed her, but because you understood her. You moved like depth always does. Quietly, deliberately, unforgettably. Be the stillness she remembers. In a world shouting for attention, be the whisper. In a world obsessed with performance, be presence. Don't talk about being different, be different. Be the man who doesn't need to prove, who doesn't chase applause, who offers stillness and trusts it to speak for itself. She may not say it out loud, but she'll feel it. In the ease of her breath, in the way she softens around you, in how she stays. This kind of presence isn't loud. It doesn't go viral, but it rewires her memory. And you don't need 1 million followers to know your worth. Just one woman who feels safe in your silence. If this message stirred something in you, comment, "I choose presence" below. Subscribe to Ancient Stoic Secrets and share this with the man you know needs to hear it. Because real leadership starts in the quiet.